Okay, up next we've got Tamir Hemo, head of engineering at Succinct. I believe I have the title correct. Speaking about SP1 Hypercube. Name of the presentation is SP1 Hypercube stepping into a higher dimension. Thanks.
Thank you. Is it like this? All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Tamir. I'm the head of cryptography at Succinct, and I'm going to tell you today a little bit about Hypercube and what makes me excited about it. And in general, at Succinct, we've been running SP1 in production for almost 2 years, maybe even more. And we learned a lot from this. And Hypercube is kind of like the crystallization of that, of these lessons. So what is important about a ZKVM? There's actually 3 things equally important. The first, performance. It has to be cheap. It has to be fast. And with ETH proofs, we've achieved real-time proving with 16 GPUs. But also, it has to be secure, and I'm going to talk about that later. And another thing I want to talk about is how rich the ZKVM is affects who can use it. So let's start with performance. That's what we gathered here for. And this week, we kind of published the benchmarks around being able to prove 99.7% of blocks with under 12 seconds with 16 GPUs. And these kind of things are coming down all the time, and there's like a lot of improvements in the pipeline. How did we do that? What was the main reason? For performance, the main upgrade was our new proving system, which is a multilinear system. And it was designed by, it's kind of like proof system use case code design. We've optimized our performance by changing the algorithm to fit the problem. We had a research paper on this, the jagged PCS, which is a polynomial commitment scheme for specific types of polynomials, or a group of polynomials that appears in a ZKVM execution. Now, I'm not going to try to explain all of it, but I want you to walk away with maybe this picture. And I'm going to try to kind of explain this. So when you prove an execution of a ZKVM, usually you have some sort of circuits, or for some people, some checks for different opcodes. So let's say you have the add instruction that happened a bunch of times, usually the biggest one, XOR, load, mul. Each of them is encoded as a polynomial. That's basically true for any VM. And the prover has to kind of group all these proofs of validity together somehow. In the univariate land, where each of them is kind of like a univariate polynomial of different size, there's not really a way to patch them together. Actually, geometrically, this is actually a very accurate analogy if you kind of know the geometry. They're kind of like spheres, which is really hard to pack, a famous mathematical problem. And multilinear polynomials are kind of like rectangles, or like multidimensional rectangles, where even though you have to have the area be the same as the corresponding sphere, you can play with the width and the height and pack things together really nicely. And that creates a really efficient proof system for the VM workload. Come talk to us about it if you're interested. Now, another lesson, which is like a lot of people said, oh wow, it's hard to sleep at night. We have billions of dollars secured by SP1. It really makes you think, and it really makes you take this responsibility really seriously. So for Hypercube, we really wanted to have the best possible guarantees. The first thing is bits of security. Recently, there's been a lot of noise about the conjectures, and even in SP1 Turbo, we used more queries than the conjectures allow, kind of have some sort of like buffer, but it was not provable. For Hypercube, we realized that performance is good enough. We can go to provable security. So right now, the real-time proofs Hypercube is posting are 100 bits of provable security, which really is getting rid of these proximity gap conjectures that are really something I see as training wheels for hash-based VMs, and Arantxa is taking our training wheels off, so I think is a good thing. And the other thing is the circuits themselves. And we did a lot to work with professionals and even hire our own formal verification person, Devin. And really what we have is the SP1 lean. The repo is open source. You can see all the proofs and the assumptions. And it's mathematical correctness proofs for the risk circuits. It's not the whole VM yet, but it's a really big part of the most risky logic. And it's verified, and the things that excites me about it is that it's verified against the official RISC-V spec. So there is a source of truth, which is like what RISC-V means, and we prove our thing against that. And the second thing we did, something that's more immediate feedback, is integrating with PyCus. And PyCus is this system by Veradice that allows you to prove that your circuit is not under constraints. I should have said under constraint in this slide. But it's an automatic tool that you just plug in, and it proved determinism of all our RISC-V circuits, and also a few precompiles, which is like much, much harder for the lean to do at this moment. So we're going to keep working on this, but already I sleep a lot better. And the last thing that I wanted to discuss, which is not really discussed today yet, because we're really focused on L1 and real-time proving, but if we're going to have a VM and the Ethereum ecosystem is going to use it, all the L2s should use it too. And what do they need, or what do other people need? I want to take as a case study Arbitrum. And Arbitrum we've been working with Arbitrum to ZK-ify their stack. And in Arbitrum, there's a specific feature that actually Ethereum L1 is considering in the long term, which is native contracts. Arbitrum Stylus allows you to write a native contract in WASM, and the client can execute it with native speeds. So when we are going to prove Arbitrum, we want to preserve that cost model. Any Stylus program has to be proven in the same cost as a native program. The problem is if you have a contract, it's not code you can trust. The code might have bugs. It might be malicious. We don't want a bad contract to collapse the entire client. The solution, the VM, has to be more complicated. So SP1 Hypercube has the ability to execute untrusted code. What does that mean? It means enforcing memory privileges. If I have an executable portion of memory, I have to make sure nobody writes to it while I execute. There's memory isolation. If I allocate a piece of memory address space for this user's program, I need to make sure that even if it overflows or it has like some seg fault, I need to have a handling for that in SP1. And finally, it has to be sandboxed. So write SP1. When you plug in precompiles in Reth, you get very low-level control of circuits you can plug in. That's really unsafe for an untrusted contract to have. So all the precompile calls, all the SP1 syscalls are not able to be called from the Stylus contract. They have to go to the client. And that's basically what we do for that. And that's mostly what I want to talk about. And I'm really excited about Hypercube. Soon going to be in production. And it was really fun working on this new proof system. And I hope you will enjoy reading the code. And yeah, thanks everyone for this event.
All right. Thank you, Tamir. We've got one question here, basically, is Hypercube open source? If so, is the code repository available on GitHub or any public repository?
Yes, so actually for ETH proofs, the version on ETH proofs is available in the same repo that we used in May. It's called Hypercube Verifier, ETH proofs demo or something like that. And very, very soon, our audits are about to end very soon, and then we will release it on the main repo and in the network, and yeah.
Excellent. How well will the WASM integration work with non-Arbitrum programs?
Well, we haven't exposed, this is all work in progress, and we haven't exposed the native thing yet, although you could actually already do it. the nice thing about executing ELFs is that you don't really have to talk to us if you know what you're doing. For example, the Aragon team building Silkworm, they have a C++ client, and they managed to plug into SP1 without even talking to us. We were really like, oh, wow, you guys just did it. Like, that was nice.
Yeah, they just showed up on ETH one day.
Yeah, they just like, oh, we did it.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.